It's time to start it off with Team NV versus Team Liquid here in the bottom left hand corner for Team Liquid. Well, that's not DRG, it's Clem. And in the top right, he's back, and he's back for good. The Blue Zerg, DRG. It's WTL time with two of the strongest teams, especially Team NV, absolutely murdering the competition. And of course, with amazing players such as DRG and Maru. We were not expecting anything less, but of course, the young French prodigy sure has something to say about it. And of course, this is gonna be a very tight best of two between these two players. Anything can happen, and we're starting it off on Jagannatha with a twist. This is this competition, of course, makes use of some community maps, especially taking maps out of the Team Liquid map contest. And this is Jagannatha Winter Edition. Nothing crazy starting it off, with both players going for an average opener, with an Ashkas pool on the side of DRG and a Reaper expand on the side of Clem. Jagannatha is a pretty long map, so you kind of need those scouting techs in the early game. You can see Clem even sending out an SCV. We've seen many players go for the 16 pool openers, trying to get a little bit of pressure on the map, trying to get a little bit of early map control. Often it doesn't really work. Even if it does like slow down a command center by a couple seconds, it's just mostly a defensive tech. And we can see DRG here opting for this standard opener. Here the usual dance between Reaper and Leans can begin. Looks like DRG will keep all of his Leans alive before the Queen pops out. And of course, there's not going to be any damage taken. The Crypt Tumor actually barely survives, but it was kind of calculated. DRG already taking the third after successfully hiding a drone behind the third expansion. But Clem is still pretty happy to check out timings and just overall make sure nothing too crazy is happening on his own side of the map. He has started reactoring Hellions out to gain something in the form of damage on the map. One of the DRG drones almost fall to the Reaper, but good save. 3 queens, of course. Gonna be a little bit too hard to deal with for one single Reaper. Also Liberator in the production tab, actually, as the observers are actually just now noticing, which is interesting. It's not something you see very often, especially since Jagannatha doesn't really have a lot of distance between its bases, especially in the early game. So it shouldn't be really too much of a problem for DRG to defend these mineral lines, especially with his overlay spread. Queen's a little bit out of position, so yeah, the aliens almost got a little bit of a red carpet into the natural mineral line. Actually, the Reapers are a little bit too bruised to venture that far, and they're all gonna die after trading with a couple lanes, but not much more. I'm very curious about the whereabouts of the Liberator. Yeah, you can see like that is definitely not a good trade. 9 lanes are just never gonna do anything in this game. And losing those aliens means losing a lot of early pressure, and losing early pressure means that DRG can really grit it out here with the double Evo chamber and even delaying his own lair. You can see the overlay spread of DRG already working in his favor. That one Liberator might get a little bit of something. He's gonna get a single drone after giving a little bit of punishment onto that Queen. But yeah, it's not gonna deal much. The Queens are in position. Even one can get from behind, which actually means the Liberator positioning wasn't the best. Clem is sending even more Helens in. This time they don't find the red carpet that was laid in front of them before, but they will find much less resistance, with many lanes dying in the first actual harassment attempt. So 5 drones are going to fall, bringing the total count to 6, which is not too shabby, but I do think that with that much commitment, well, not even commitment, that much investment, Clem would have been a little bit happier, getting a little bit more from DRG. Bailey Nest and Lair incoming. DRG even sends out a couple lanes surviving from the latest harassment attempt to try and slow down the further expansion of Clem. Will not manage to do so. Will still keep Clem a little bit on its toes, at the very least. Very clean defense so far from the Korean Zerg, who's now even double expanding. The lair behind this Clem. He's sending out a lot of units, even a couple of Widow Mines. He doesn't really have a lot of Medivacs out, only the 2, with 2 more incoming. And it is not like DRG has any AoE damage yet, or actually any real way to burst down Marines. Comes a Steam with a Widow Mine trying to borrow. Ooh, actually, it does borrow, and it does deal quite a lot of damage. Of course, the Medivacs are just gonna collect all of the Marines and go straight into the main, only to be greeted by a Queen and a Spore Crawler in position. Spire halfway through, Clem trying to go for the double prong. DRG very much on top of his defense so far. He might have lost a little bit too many lanes. His Painlink speed is not done yet, but yeah, these Marines have steamed a lot, and the Medivacs just have to pick them up and let them leave to fight another day. Another factory for Clem. It's getting interesting. Double factory. Well, actually it doesn't mean really too much. It just means he wants to go a little bit heavier onto Widow Mines. Widow Mines will burrow without actually DRG doing anything about it. They will get their shots onto Queens, even almost catching a couple. But the lanes are in position, and so are the Pain lanes. With this much crit spread, Clem has only one course of action at his disposition, and that is collect all of his Marines and head out. 10 mutas incoming. Very clean game by DRG so far. Clem really putting up a lot of pressure though. With +2/+2 incoming, DRG still has to survive a lot of time before he can eventually out-tech his opponent. Oh, beautiful Banelin's connections actually, a little bit on everything. I don't think there are enough lanes on the ground to clean that army up. But those Banelink connections were certainly something. Clem still has a lot of Marines out, and his Medivacs basically didn't take a single tick of damage from the Queens. Always zoned by the Marines. But now DRG has a healthy amount of mutas, which are going to be immediately countered by Tors. Very clean answer by Clem as well. Always on top of his tech options to have the best possible answer to what his opponent is doing. Widowmine will fail to go down before he gets focused by Banelings and lanes. Another Widowmine will not get a very good shot, and now it's just Banelings chasing down Medivacs and Marines alike, with the mutas cleaning it up in the air. Not a lot of energy on those Medivacs, but the first store is out. Now these mutas need to be a little bit more careful. The multiple expansions of DRG have not been punished, and the Blue Zerg has been 2 bases ahead for what it's about to be 3 minutes actually, which is a fairly significant amount, especially with an infestation pit coming. A little bit of the delayed timing, of course, to allow the mutas to come out in a pretty good number. Yeah, those are brave drones. They want to bring the fight to Clem, I guess. DRG trying to chase down a Medivac. 2 Widow Mines in it, and I think it will chase it down. Oh, the Medivac will actually have to drop down the Widow Mines, which will not burrow in time, and everything will be cleared by DRG's mutas. Hive incoming, the decisive piece of tech that DRG needs to get out Vipers, and who knows, maybe even Broodlords or Ultras before those Vipers. Little bit of a Bailin run by, will not get much, just a couple units out of Clem, who's now actually trying to move on the left side, while DRG is actually messing a huge amount of army supply on the right side to go for a counterattack to get on top of the 4th base, which is still in the making. Actually, it's a planetary, there's a 5th base in the making. And what will it be? The Taurus trying to get on top of all of the mutas. The planetary barely surviving until it does not. The planetary falls down, and so does Clem's attempt to strike down at the 6th base that DRG has put down on these last minute. 13 more mutas incoming, and it looks like the 6th expansion is not gonna be threatened by Clem at the moment. Crazy APM on the side of DRG, who's maxed out again. He's getting adrenal glands, most important upgrade on Hive Tech. His Widow Mine will not really get much, but the rest of the army is getting into business as well. DRG might want to free up some supply efficiently. He's gonna try to eat everything he can, and now he's actually focusing down the production of Clem. Oh, this one missile turret is not gonna survive for long, does it? Oh, it's time for the Tor, which barely survives again. Beautiful Widow Mine shot, hitting kind of a jackpot. And DRG will need to leave and lick his wounds, especially with mutas. Healing their missing elf so fast. He might want to wait before he strikes again, especially with the tech option behind this attack, which is of course the Ultra Cavern. But yeah, so far DRG has been in real control of the game, but wasn't quite able to do much with it. Like, East Bank is good, but it's nothing crazy, doesn't have a lot of gas. He wasn't really able to harass in any way, just hitting production with his mutas. And yeah, he badly needs tech, he badly needs to do something with his army and replace it with something better. The mutas are always gonna be useful, of course, due to the Medivacs being so obnoxious to deal with, even with this amount of creep. Actually, DRG is splitting his muta army, and now again, hitting on production. Widow Mine shot, it's beautifully on top of all of them, but at the meanwhile, DRG is striking in full might here at the fur base of Clem, and finally, DRG finds the damage I was talking about. European production, economy, a little bit of everything, and he's not really trading much for it. All he needed to do was get the attention of Clem, a little chunk of his own army. We were talking about trading efficiently, and there's few trades that are more efficient than this. A lot of production has been going down for Clem throughout the last minute, and of course the 28 SCVs lost are definitely gonna hurt. Now Clem will clear out the last few strugglers, but he needs to do something with his armies, burning down those Widow Mines. But here comes the full might of DRG's Banelings. Not gonna get very good connections, not gonna lie. DRG is in a little bit of a risk right now, but the Widow Mines are out of shots, and there's no more Widow Mines on the ground. The Taurs, where they at? I think they're gone. Only the Medivacs, or the mutas, are left to fight. But as I was saying, DRG has a very clean tech up behind these trades. And once ultras come out, I don't really see many answers coming from Clem. +3/+3 just kicked in for the Zerg player who's maxed out again. And he's getting a little bit closer to his opponent in gas bank. But his gas income, like, it's nuts. To be honest, like, there's no way he will not, yeah, as you can see, there's no way there's no way that he won't actually surpass his opponent in the bank really soon. And it's now on a almost 500 lead in gas with a 2k minerals in the bank. Clem trying to expand in the bottom right, but DRG is massing two very powerful armies in two different locations. Clem cannot really afford to split his army, he needs to engage on one side and he knows he's about to lose a lot on the other. His Orbiter Commander will lift up, trying to leave to fight another day, but yeah, the Banelings are connecting onto anything they can. These Marines trying to do their best, but the wall is down and it's time for the Ultras to fight in this choke point. Ultras versus Thors. Is this a cinematic? I think it is, because DRG is beautifully taking control of this game. Clem with a Hail Mary on the top right will lose the last bit of his mobile army. Only one Medivac left over here, and GG gets cold. DRG takes game number 1. Game number 2 here between Team NV leading the series against Team Liquid here in the top right hand corner. As the red Terran for Team Liquid, it's Clem. His opponent in the blue in the bottom left hand corner instead, playing for Team NV, it's DRG. And this is the map of Overgrowth, I think. I can't really read Korean, guys, but yeah, I really think this is Overgrowth. I do remember those maps, so yeah. Again, I'm curious to see if it's still going to be a standard opener or any of the two players will go for these anti-aggro tech. Looks like DRG is gonna go for a Nachkas pool. Not opting for the early pool to counter proxies. Definitely a weapon in the arsenal of Clem. Something you need to be scared about, but DRG seems to be fine with it. He's not really afraid of it. And actually, it's probably the Blue Zerg to be known as the most aggressive player between those two, especially in ZVP, but ZVT is of course no exception, it's just slightly less. This map is significantly shorter than Jagannath, and one thing you can check if you want to know the dimension of the map is just looking at the minimap and seeing how big are the crystal chunks, the mineral chunks, and the Vespian geysers. Even the watchtowers. And as you can see, they're kind of big on this map, so it means the map is actually pretty short. And even just counting bases, like Jagannath has 1,000,002, while this map has 6 per side. So we're probably gonna look at a little bit of a faster game, at least in the decisions that need to be made to take control of the mid game. Just popped out. We'll drop down a Crypt Tumor, which will be defended by the lanes. It's time for the dance to end. Here with DRG again hiding a drone in the third, and again getting his third expansion without that single drone ever being threatened. Reactor next to the factory, Hellions to take control, and this time the Hellions are gonna be out on the map like much before. Is that something you can say in English? I don't even know, but yeah. They're gonna be harassing at an earlier timing. As you can see, Clem already putting 2 on the map. He's not afraid of being scouted. He wants to take control. He wants to move the army of DRG around. Clem, yeah, will not take that one drone. He's trying to connect the creep between the second base and the third one. With actually an armory behind this. Are we gonna witness some hellbat action? I really think so. I don't really see much else that can come out of that armory. A spine crawler actually coming in clutch. Such a good prediction coming from DRG. Sees nothing next to the Rex, sees the tech lab next to that one starport, sees the Hellbats morphing, and sees the tech lab researching a very important upgrade, which is cloaked. The medevac goes down almost immediately though. These queens are not really that spread around, meaning that the Hellbats will actually get a lot of AoE damage, but all of the queens actually survive, with transfuses being used exactly when DRG needed them. And the Blue Zerg is gonna take minimal damage. He's even gonna cancel, actually, the Spine Crawler, acknowledging that the major threat has passed. And it's time for another threat to be dealt with 3 Spore Crawlers being started, 1 in each base, to stop those Banshees from actually doing too much damage. More Hellions getting on the map, trying to do something. The Queens are a little bit out of position in this occasion. But yeah, the Spore Crawlers are gonna buy plenty of time for the Queens to get where they need to be and counter the Banshee. Actually, beautiful movements from DRG. Keeping his Queens where he needs them, when he needs them. Baneling Nest completing as well as the lair, meaning Baneling Speed will be started in a very short time. I'm not too sure about the Baneling Nest instead of the Roach Warren, to be honest. Actually, I thought that was a Roach Warren info. So yeah, the Queens are once again a little bit too close together. They're gonna take a little bit of AoE damage. One of the Queens is actually going to put as an Overseer on the map already to stop the Banshee from moving unchecked, moving unseen. As Shades from Warcraft 3 will say. And again, we see the Blue Zerg starting a Spire. She's actually already halfway through, taking minimal damage so far. Again, putting himself in a very good position coming into this mid-game. We do not see the double expansion that he has gone in the previous game. He knows this is a shorter map, there are much more threats. And even just defending his 4th one, while actually making as many mutants as possible, it's not gonna be an easy task. Double Evo Chamber, of course, gonna be much needed for those melee and Carapace upgrade to deal as much damage as possible to those Marines and surviving a shot from the tank, especially the Banelings, of course. The Wings are gonna need it as well. Steam being used to recede the moving forward of this creep. And yeah, as I was saying, like, that one base was a difficult one to hold, but DRG already starting to take the one in the bottom right after losing the one on the left, which is a little bit tougher to defend against a Terran player. This tank was in a very awkward spot, immediately sniped down by DRG, who shows his end, makes Clem know that he's on to Mutus tech. Centrifugal looks incoming as well as +1 melee, +1 Carapace. Overly speed and +1 air weapons. This time a little bit more commitment onto those mutas. You can see there are already more on the map than in the previous game. Mostly I think due to the lack of a double expansion, meaning DRG was a little bit less afraid of having to defend multiple bases. And of course with that early to mid game defense he had against the Elbat drop, well, not drop, the Elbat timing, he knows he's in a little bit of a better position even than the previous game. Even though Clem is doing something completely different from game number 1. And is now building up more traditional army with tanks instead of Widow Mines, which didn't really get the dream connections that Clem was hoping for. This time looks like it's a little bit of a different story. DRG taking an awful engagement. He's gonna be hard punished for that. The mutas are gonna have a pretty tough time getting on top of those tanks. But yeah, tanks are definitely less scary than Widow Mines in this precise situation. DRG building up a huge army on the left to try and go for a counterattack, and the counterattack is actually going to hit the Queens, holding the line for the rest of the units to come in clutch. The tanks though dealing so much damage, and now the Banelings rolling down into the natural, actually into the third, sorry, with 10 SCVs falling, 11 maybe counting the mutas trying to get on top of everything. The tanks were unsieged, but the Banelings did not get the connections that DRG wanted. Both players successfully engaging their opponent on their aggressive play while struggling to defend. +2/+2 soon to kick in for Clem. That's such a key upgrade. We see DRG desperately trying to deal even more damage, desperately trying to find some reinforcements incoming from Clem's main base to supply this army here in the bottom right, which is gonna slow down creep even more. And now DRG has a little bit of a dreamy occasion, even though there are so many choke points. I don't know if he can fight there. He's gonna try to go for the wraparound. So many Marines actually close together. The tanks actually immediately fall. Beautiful split so far by Clem. But the Banelings were a little bit too high in number. Knights only mutas against Marines, but the Medivacs did not have a lot of energy, meaning the mutas will win the fight. DRG with a 30 supply lead. And now those Medivacs looking a little bit like dead weight. Only 3 of them have enough energy to actually heal up this army. But Clem still pushing creep behind. DRG on 4 bases, taking the 5th. Clem still on 3, still trying to do something. The hive is halfway through. I do not think there's any coming back from that hive. Clem once again, a little bit of a timer clock as of now. Oh, but DRG is taking not a great engagement again. The fights from DRG have not been as clean as they were in the previous game. But his early game advantage is still doing wonders for him. Medivacs transporting Marines over here in the main, trying to save the orbital command, but the mutas are already too strong and too high in number. They can even trade into Marines, and that is not what you want as Clem. More Medivacs coming in. This starport is about to fall, and it does indeed fall. Such a key structure for the Terran player. Going down, and 25 mutas in the air are basically gonna be impossible to deal with for such a long time for Clem. No towers in sight, only Marines. Clem, once again, he knows he's on a timer, he knows he cannot out-tech his opponent, and he definitely knows that a big army in blue is waiting for his move. Very clean defense from Clem over here at the run by. Couple strugglers heading a little bit too forward. Yeah, the tanks are gonna immediately fall, immediately annihilated. DRG sending so many units in, even out of creep. These Banelings are very immediately catching up with the Marines. What I meant to say was very quickly. But yeah, my brain decided to forget a word. So yeah, whatever. Oh, another big engagement and Mutas immediately getting on top of those tanks. It's time for the Medivacs to fall down right now. Not a lot of energy on those Medivacs. Not a lot of Medivacs alive, actually. But the same can be said about Banelings. So these Marines will live to fight another day. Will they? Because the Mutas are relentlessly chasing them down. So much investment into the air army for DRG. And it's really paying off. The splits are very good. But you cannot split from those Mutas. They're gonna chase you wherever you are. GG gets gold and it's a 2-0 win for DRG.